February 2013, Kira Steger, a 30-year-old manager at Mall of America, mysteriously disappeared after an ordinary evening out with her husband. She failed to show up for work the next day, leaving her friends and colleagues worried. After weeks of searching, Kira's body was found in the Mississippi River, and what authorities uncovered during the investigation left everyone stunned. The tense relationship between Kira and her husband, Jeffery Trevino, only made the case more complicated. The truth behind Kira's death slowly came to light, revealing shocking details that turned this case into one of the most unforgettable mysteries. In today's case, we'll dive deep into the story of Kira Steger, a brutal death, complicated relationships, and a mind-boggling investigation. Could there be more to this story than what we know? Join me as we uncover the truth behind this chilling case. Part 1. The mysterious disappearance of Kira Steger in the late evening of February 21, 2013. Kira Steger, a 30-year-old woman, was last seen leaving the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. Kira had spent the evening with her husband, Jeffery Trevino, shopping and enjoying dinner at the popular shopping mall. What was supposed to be an ordinary night out soon turned into a mystery that would grip the public's attention for months to come. Kira, a well-liked and respected manager at a local retail store within the Mall of America, was known for her cheerful demeanor and strong work ethic. She had always been punctual, dependable, and a professional. But the next morning, when Kira didn't show up for work, alarm bells began to ring for her co-workers. The initial signs of trouble. Kira's co-workers at the store where she worked had noticed something unusual almost immediately. Not only was she late, but she hadn't called in sick or made any effort to inform anyone that she wouldn't be coming to work that day. It was completely out of character for Kira. As the hours passed, her absence began to raise more and more concern. Kira had a close-knit circle of friends and colleagues who had come to rely on her presence at work. She was always there when needed, always dependable. Her absence did not sit well with anyone who knew her. They quickly began reaching out to her, trying to contact her by phone and text. The messages remained unanswered. By mid-afternoon, Kira's co-workers became increasingly worried, and it wasn't long before they decided to contact her husband, Jeffery. When they called him to inquire about Kira's whereabouts, his response was less than reassuring. According to some reports, Jeffery claimed to have not seen his wife since the previous evening, which only added to the growing concern. A missing persons could see the anxiety surrounding Kira's disappearance intensified as the hours stretched into the night. Kira's friends and family continued to try reaching her without success. By the evening, they had no choice but to contact the authorities. The Bloomington Police Department was immediately notified, and soon after, Kira was officially reported as a missing person. As the police began their investigation, they learned more about Kira's last known activities. Surveillance footage from Mall of America was quickly reviewed. The footage showed Kira and Jeffery walking through the mall, heading toward their car around 9:30 p.m. They appeared to be together, looking like an ordinary couple out for the night. Nothing about their demeanor raised suspicion. However, it was the moments after they left the mall that began to intrigue investigators. The inconsistent statements started by interviewing Jeffery, Kira's husband, about his wife's disappearance. Initially, Jeffery seemed calm and cooperative with the investigators. He claimed that after leaving the mall, the couple had parted ways, each heading home separately. Jeffery said that Kira had driven off in her car while he had gone home in his. However, the investigators soon found something that didn't quite add up. The police learned that Kira's car was still parked in the same location, at the Mall of America parking lot. This raised serious questions. If Kira had been home, as Jeffery suggested, why hadn't she picked up her car from the mall? In a case like this, every small detail becomes important. The situation was starting to feel more suspicious by the minute. As the investigation continued, detectives began to delve into the relationship between Kira and Jeffery. What they uncovered was something far more complicated than a simple missing persons case. The strained relationship between Kira and Jeffery over the course of the next few days. Police began speaking to those closest to Kira, and the truth about her relationship with Jeffery started to emerge. They learned that the couple had been going through a difficult period in their marriage. Friends and family revealed that Kira had been unhappy with her relationship for some time and had been talking about getting a divorce. In fact, Kira had been seeing someone else, a man she had met through work. This extramarital affair only added more tension to the already strained relationship. Kira had told a close friend that she was planning to leave Jeffery and that the relationship was effectively over. The police were now looking at a much darker picture. Kira's disappearance might not have been an accident at all, but was this motive enough for Jeffery to kill his wife? Could jealousy and anger have pushed him to a point where he was willing to take the life of the woman he once loved? The first clue, blood evidence. While investigators were piecing together information, about the couple's troubled marriage, they began to search Kira's car, which had been left at the mall. What they discovered was a shocking piece of evidence. Blood was found in the trunk of Kira's vehicle. The blood was a clear sign that something had gone horribly wrong, and it wasn't just a simple case of a woman leaving her life behind. Kira had been injured, and there was no denying it at this point. Police knew that Kira's disappearance was far from ordinary. They suspected foul play, and the evidence started to point to Jeffery as the primary suspect. But without a body, they couldn't make an arrest. They needed more proof. The search for Kira intensified as days went by. Police coordinated with volunteers and the local community, combing through nearby areas in search of any signs of her. The efforts continued for weeks, but there were still no major leads. It was only after weeks of searching that a breakthrough would come, but not before Kira's case captured the attention of the public in a way that no one could have expected. The discovery of Kira's body in May 2, 2013, nearly 3 months after Kira had gone missing. The worst fears were confirmed. Kira's body was discovered in the Mississippi River near downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. The discovery was made by local fishermen who had been working along the banks of the river. The body was found submerged in the water, and it was clear that she had been dead for some time. The news of Kira's body being found sent shockwaves through the community. It was a heartbreaking moment for her family and friends, who had been holding out hope that she was still alive. But the discovery raised even more questions. How had Kira ended up in the river? Was she dumped there after being killed, or had she gone there herself? The autopsy, a brutal killing autopsy, was conducted on Kira's body, and the results were both horrifying and revealing. Kira had been brutally attacked before her death. The medical examiner found numerous signs of trauma, including severe blunt force injuries to her head, which had caused a significant portion of her skull to fracture. She had also suffered broken fingers and bruising on her face, along with signs of internal bleeding. The most chilling discovery was that Kira had been struck repeatedly, and the injuries were consistent with an assault that took place over a period of time. There was no doubt in the minds of investigators now Kira had been murdered, and it seemed likely that her killer had been someone very close to her. The manner of her death, the severe injuries, and the fact that she had been left in the river suggested that the person who killed her had wanted to make her disappearance seem like an accident. But as police pieced the puzzle together, the pieces started to point back to her husband. Jeffery, Part 2, the investigation deepens. Uncovering the truth as investigators continue to piece together the puzzle of Kira Steger's murder, the suspicions surrounding her husband, Jeffery Trevino, grew stronger. The blood found in Kira's car, the absence of a clear alibi, and the violent nature of the crime all pointed in one disturbing direction. But in order to arrest Jeffery, investigators needed more than just circumstantial evidence. They needed concrete proof. The discovery of Kira's body had given them new leads, but it had also raised even more questions. Why had Kira been left in the river? Had she been killed elsewhere and then dumped? Or had she died in the area near where she was found? Every piece of the investigation was connected to the larger, more complex story of a troubled marriage, a secret affair, and a devastating tragedy that no one saw coming. The damning evidence, Jeffery's behavior. When investigators examined Jeffery's behavior in the wake of Kira's disappearance, it didn't take long for them to find inconsistencies in his statements. At first, Jeffery had appeared cooperative, seemingly willing to help the police find his missing wife. However, his demeanor began to raise suspicions as they dug deeper into his actions. For instance, Jeffery initially claimed that he hadn't seen Kira after they left the mall, but surveillance footage from the mall's parking lot painted a different picture. The footage showed the couple leaving together and walking toward their respective vehicles, but no footage showed Kira leaving the parking lot in her own car. In fact, her car remained parked there for days, a fact that Jeffery had conveniently left out in his initial statements. When questioned about this, Jeffery's answers became more evasive, further fueling suspicions that he was hiding something. As the investigation unfolded, detectives found that Jeffery had been lying about his whereabouts the night Kira went missing. Witnesses reported that Jeffery had been seen driving around the area after he allegedly left the mall. In the days leading up to Kira's disappearance, Jeffery had also been acting strangely, avoiding his friends and family, and failing to show much concern about his wife's absence. It was becoming clear to investigators that Jeffery's behavior and statements didn't add up. But the biggest clue came when they took a closer look at his relationship with Kira. A troubled marriage and a secret affair cracks in Jeffery, and Kira's marriage had been evident for months. Kira had been open with her friends and family about the problems she was facing in her relationship with Jeffery. She had expressed her unhappiness and had even mentioned that she was planning to divorce him. But that wasn't the only complication. Kira had been seeing someone else. A co-worker had confirmed that Kira had started an affair with a man she had met at work. Kira had even gone so far as to tell her friends that she intended to leave Jeffery and start a new life with this new man. The fact that Kira had been planning to leave Jeffery was a motive that investigators couldn't ignore. It was clear that Jeffery had become aware of the affair, and the pressure of Kira's decision to leave him had likely pushed him to a breaking point. According to those who knew them, their marriage had been marked by frequent arguments and tension. Jeffery had shown signs of jealousy, and Kira's increasing distance from him only exacerbated his frustrations. Some experts in domestic violence even suggested that Jeffery's controlling nature and jealousy could have led him to snap. He had reportedly been very possessive of Kira, and there were rumors that he had become violent in the past. While Kira had never gone public with any claims of abuse, there were signs that the relationship had been far from healthy. The investigation into Jeffery's possible motive became even more urgent when police learned about the contents of Kira's phone. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Kira had sent a series of messages to her lover, discussing her plans to leave Jeffery and start a new life. These messages were chilling in their clarity. Kira was done with her marriage, and she had every intention of moving on, but Jeffery, it seemed, wasn't ready to let go. The discovery of blood and forensic evidence. While investigators focused on Jeffery and his possible motive, the forensic evidence continued to mount. The blood found in Kira's car was just the beginning. Forensic experts were able to confirm that the blood belonged to Kira, and this discovery indicated that she had likely been injured before being killed. In addition to the blood in the car, investigators found traces of Kira's DNA inside the couple's home. It seemed that Kira had been the victim of a violent struggle. The blood found at various locations, including the couple's residence and inside Jeffery's car, painted a damning picture of what had happened that night. Police also discovered surveillance footage from Kira's workplace. While it didn't provide direct evidence of her murder, the footage showed her at work just hours before she disappeared. Her co-workers recalled that she had seemed nervous, and one had mentioned that she had seemed distracted, as if something was weighing on her mind. They later realized that Kira had been planning her escape from her marriage. The combination of the forensic evidence and Jeffery's suspicious behavior led detectives to believe that they were closing in on the truth. They believed that Jeffery had killed Kira either out of jealousy, rage, or fear of losing her. The breakthrough: Jeffery's confession. After weeks of investigation, Jeffery was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. During the interrogation, detectives pushed Jeffery to the edge. It wasn't long before his story began to fall apart under the weight of the evidence. Initially, Jeffery continued to deny any involvement in Kira's death, but as the detectives presented their findings, he started to crack. The blood evidence, the inconsistencies in his statements, and the discovery of his motive all weighed heavily on him. Finally, after hours of questioning, Jeffery confessed to the crime. He admitted to killing Kira in a fit of rage after learning about her affair and her plans to leave him. He claimed that he had been overcome with jealousy and that he had lashed out during an argument. In his confession, he detailed how he had attacked Kira, leaving her severely injured, and then, in a panic, had disposed of her body in the river to cover up the crime. Jeffery's confession was a devastating blow to Kira's family and friends, who had hoped that she would be found alive. The confession also shed light on the dark and violent nature of Jeffery's relationship with Kira, something that no one had fully understood until now. The aftermath: a family in mourning. The murder of Kira Steger had left a permanent mark on the lives of her family, friends, and the community. The news of her death was heartbreaking, but it was the discovery of the truth behind her murder that shocked everyone who knew her. Kira was not just another victim of domestic violence. She was a woman who had been trapped in a relationship that she desperately wanted to escape. The fact that she had been murdered by the person she trusted most in the world left everyone in disbelief. As Jeffery was led away in handcuffs, the emotional toll of the case became clear. Kira's family, who had been holding on to hope for months, now had to come to terms with the fact that they had lost her forever. Part 3: The trial and the aftermath. As the investigation reached its conclusion, Kira Steger's family and friends were forced to confront the painful truth that they had lost her forever. The devastating murder, which had taken months to uncover, was finally starting to make sense. But there was still much to process, as Jeffery Trevino's actions and his ultimate fate remained uncertain until the final moments of the investigation. Jeffery's arrest and the legal battle. After weeks of careful investigation, Jeffery Trevino was arrested for the murder of his wife, Kira. His arrest followed the discovery of critical evidence, including blood found in Kira's car, traces of her DNA in their home, and the mounting suspicion that Kira had been planning to leave him. His confession was the final piece in the puzzle that sealed his fate. He admitted to the crime, describing how jealousy and rage over Kira's affair had led him to lash out violently. The news of Jeffery's arrest sent shockwaves through the community, leaving many struggling to comprehend how a man could turn on his wife in such a brutal way. For Kira's family, their arrest was both a relief and an additional source of grief. Their daughter, sister, and friend had been taken from them in the most unimaginable way, and now they had to face the reality that she had been murdered by the person closest to her, the person who was supposed to love and protect her. The courtroom drama and trial of Jeffery Trevino began in the fall of 2013. The prosecution laid out a case that painted a picture of a man driven by jealousy, anger, and fear of losing control over his wife. The evidence was overwhelming. The blood found in Kira's car, the traces of her DNA in the couple's home, the inconsistencies in Jeffrey's statements, and his confession all pointed directly to him as the perpetrator of the brutal crime. Throughout the trial, Jeffery remained stoic, offering no emotion as the evidence was presented. He had confessed to the crime, yet his defense team argued that his actions had been the result of a sudden, uncontrollable outburst of crime of passion. The prosecution, however, made it clear that Jeffrey's actions had been premeditated, pointing out how he had planned to kill his wife in the heat of the moment, but had gone on to cover up his crime in an attempt to escape responsibility. The emotional toll on Kira's family and friends was palpable throughout the trial. They sat through every testimony, listening to the painful details of Kira's final moments. Kira's parents, in particular, struggled to hold back their tears as they recalled the bright, ambitious woman who had been taken from them too soon. The courtroom became a battleground for justice, as Kira's loved ones fought for the truth to be heard and for Jeffery to be held accountable for his actions. The verdict in October 25, 2013. After weeks of deliberation, the jury returned their verdict. Jeffery Trevino was found guilty of second-degree murder. The charge indicated that Jeffery had killed his wife without premeditation, but during the commission of another crime, driven by anger and emotional turmoil. The verdict was a bittersweet victory for Kira's family. While they were relieved that justice had been served, it was a hollow victory. No punishment could ever bring Kira back or undo the pain they had suffered. For her parents, the knowledge that their daughter's life had been taken by her own husband was unbearable. They knew that nothing could replace Kira, the daughter they had lost, the sister they would never see again, the friend who was gone too soon. The sentence: justice for Kira. Following the guilty verdict, Jeffery was sentenced to 27.5 years in prison. The judge's ruling was meant to reflect the severity of the crime, but it was still unclear whether this sentence would truly deliver justice for Kira. The Steger family had hoped for a more severe sentence, given the brutality of the murder and the emotional toll it had taken on them. Kira's family members, particularly her parents, made victim impact statements during the sentencing phase of the trial. They spoke of the loss they had endured, the empty space left in their lives, and the endless pain they would carry with them forever. Their words were a reminder to the core of the human toll that Jeffrey's actions had caused, not just to Kira, but to everyone who had known and loved her. Despite the prison sentence, Jeffrey's fate remained uncertain. He could eventually be considered for parole, but this possibility did little to bring peace to the Steger family. They were left grappling with the knowledge that Kira had been taken from them in such a senseless and violent manner. The legacy of Kira Steger. While the trial and sentencing brought some closure to Kira's family, the pain of her death would never fully heal. Kira Steger's life was stolen by the man who should have been her protector, and her family and friends would forever be haunted by the loss. Kira's death also left a lasting impact on the community. Her case highlighted the complexities of domestic violence and the devastating consequences of a relationship gone wrong. It raised awareness about the signs of emotional abuse, control, and manipulation in intimate relationships, and it sparked conversations about the importance of recognizing when someone is in danger and offering support. In the years following Kira's death, her family became advocates for domestic violence awareness. They worked with local organizations to help others who found themselves in similar situations, ensuring that Kira's legacy lived on in the fight to end violence in relationships. A chilling reflection as Jeffery Trevino serves his prison sentence. Kira's family and friends continue to remember her. They honor her memory by sharing her story and by supporting initiatives aimed at ending domestic violence. Kira's life may have been tragically cut short, but her spirit endures in the work that has been done in her name to protect others. The tragic story of Kira Steger serves as a chilling reminder of the dark side of relationships, how love, jealousy, and control can lead to the ultimate destruction. And while Jeffery Trevino may have been sentenced to prison, the emotional scars left by his actions will never fade for those who love Kira. Her story is a reminder that behind every headline, there are real people whose lives are irrevocably changed by violence, and that we must always fight for justice, not just for Kira, but for anyone whose life is threatened by the darkness lurking within abusive relationships. Thank you for watching the heartbreaking and powerful story of Kira Steger. If this video resonated with you, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life true crime stories and deep dives into mysterious cases. Your support helps us continue to create content that uncovers the truth behind these chilling stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think about this case. What other cases would you like us to explore? Remember, stay vigilant and stay aware. Sometimes the truth is darker than we could ever imagine.